thing about the story is that it varies depending on who's telling it, but that's what makes it cool. And
But it is the same story.
it is basically the same story. I was house manager. It was 2007,
And,
April.
and I had a bunch of single women friends at my house for appetizers and wine before going to a Parish Players show. Happy days.
Happy days. Yeah.
Because Beckett is always uplifting for single
Especially
women.
when you're buried up to your neck in sand.
Yeah. So we were, of course, late for arriving, and we parked at the library.
Because you had had a couple glasses of
Because
wine.
we had had a couple glasses of wine, and the dog ran off just before leaving, and we had to close the neighbor's chickens in. Anyway, we were a little late, and we came running down the road.
And I didn't know you were coming because the name on the list of the 5 missing people that hadn't showed up yet, I didn't recognize that name, even though you were in the group. So I didn't know who was coming, but I knew 5 people were missing. And so I went out the parking lot, looked up and down the road, and I see 5 women giggling down the road. And you're one of them. I usher you in quickly. Let's get this show going.
You had seats for us, kind of sitting, and we sat
And I
down.
said, pay at intermission.
and-
Only slightly annoyed, but I was glad to see you. I could tell that in this gaggle of women.
So we settled down and watched the show, and then at intermission we started talking, and I'd mentioned, I bought a house, and we had known each other through the years a little bit, not very well, and said, why don't you come over and see my new house? And a couple weeks later you did,
And your new dog.
and my new dog, to add to the other
Ash.
dog, Ash, yep, to add to Shiloh. And then you showed up and you kind of never left.
That's pretty much the story.
And
That we definitely agree on.
yeah, that we agree on. And the most recent part, 9 years later, we got married.
And we told that story at the wedding ceremony.
So Parish Players sort of hooked us up.
Yeah, it did. It's true.
And so 9 years later, we got married. That was just this August, and we told this whole story. It was what our ceremony was, basically.
It worked very well with the ceremony in this beautiful house, open, people crowding in, and the story was perfect. Yeah, it was great.
I would come to Parish Players performances because I live in Thetford. I would come every once in a while, not as consistently maybe as I do now. And so that was a show, getting together with friends. It seemed like a perfect thing to do, to go see a show together. And since Alex has been a part of many productions in directing, one of them, not directing, more producing, doing lighting, and he was in one play where he played a psychological killer, and I would often tell him he was not allowed to bring the character home, and
Archie was not allowed
Archie
at
was
home.
not allowed at home.
Yeah.
But it's great when I do come to shows now that Alex is often involved in, and not. It's really wonderful. You always see people, you know. You always say hello to people and catch up a little bit, and the communal feeling is always there and strong, and it feels good. You know, I think a lot of people take it for granted. It would be great if it was augmented by a tavern nearby or something like that. We've always been hoping for
That would be a coup.
It always amazes me how some people will live in Thetford and not have gone here, and I always tell them, yeah, you gotta go because they do great work and tickets aren't too expensive. So, and be a part of it. Again, it's coming to a show or being part of it, like the 10-Minute Play Festival, needs a lot of people. So it's a great way to be involved with local community theater.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
I was licking envelopes and for the annual appeal letter, and now my tongue feels like a envelope licking situation. I was licking envelopes and for the annual appeal letter, and now my tongue feels like a envelope licking situation, which is cool. I mean, that's what happens. And every year we do this letter stuffing thing. We have 753 envelopes all addressed, ready to go. And sit down, you look at the name on there, and say, oh, I know them, or oh, I don't know them. And write something and stuff it, put a stamp on it. It goes in the mail, and that happens once a year. And that is really the funding that isn't tickets. There's some other things, but basically it's like ticket sales, and then there's this chunk that comes in because of this annual appeal. And that is kind of the way the place operates financially. I think most theaters, ticket sales generate about 50% of the revenue, and it's a pretty standard number, I think. So here, tickets here generate a lot more, but it's a volunteer place. We don't have much of a payroll. So that just is, I think there's 200 left. So anybody come by and do some more. We can always use help stuffing envelopes and writing thanks for supporting this place. I didn't really get introduced to this place until the 80s. And I was brought up here with some friends to see some plays when it was a Potbelly Stove and a couple outhouses in the back, and saw some Brian Friel play, I think. So at that time, I was maybe about 40 or coming up to 40. And there was this community theater group in Meriden that was putting on The Sound of Music. And my daughter was 6, and they were looking for Gretel, right? So they auditioned all these 6-year-olds, and basically she was the only one that they could hear. So they cast her. And so, of course, I had to go to rehearsals, and I'm an electrician. So I'm sitting there, I'm at rehearsal, I'm an electrician, so that didn't take long to figure out. So I became involved in that way. And then the next year, they said, well, Alex, we're doing Fiddler on the Roof. I said, great, sounds like it's a good play. They said, well, but we want you to be in it. We've heard you know how to sing. I said, well, yeah, but you don't want me in the play. That's a bad idea. And they said, no, you need to do that. So I said, all right, figuring, okay, they'll put me in the back row to hold the tight harmony or something. And but no, they cast me as Model the Tailor. And I said, I'm not even Jewish. And they said, well, there are only 2 Jews in Meriden, so, you're going to have to do this. So I said, okay, and I really enjoyed it. And the director was really clear about what he wanted to show, and that was really important, to hear him say that. I went, oh, I get that, I get that. So it was easy to build, and I realized very soon that I needed to find another way to get better. And it happened that, well, a couple things happened in the next few years. One is that the White River Theater Festival, which is a professional theater company in White River, started in the Briggs Opera House in 1988. I believe that's right, 1988. And they lasted until 95, and then Northern Stage moved in. But during that time, I was in 10 shows with them. And I got to work with some really good people. And I learned a tremendous amount. And along about 91, 2, or 3, I came and did a couple of shows here that were that was a lot of fun. I got a lot of support and worked with good people here too. So I was hooked, and the next thing I said was, okay, I got to go and find out where I can do this. So I waited for my kids to be in college, get that figured out, and then I auditioned. And my first job was in Ohio, and the one after that was in Kentucky. And then it was Iowa and Maine and Western Massachusetts. And for 10 years, not full time, but I traveled around the country, and that's what I did. I got a lot better. And when I came back, off and on during the time, this place was being renovated because they had closed it down to the public. Got through that. That was amazing to see that happen. I heard they raised $200,000, and they just said, okay, we're going to do it. And it was here. It was still here, except it had flush toilets and heat, not a pot-bellied stove. And things were moving ahead here. I thought, wow, this is a great place. And I saw stuff happening here and thought, all right, I'm going to land back here. I'm not going to be a gypsy right now. So this is the concentration. And it really is a gem. I mean, I travel around the country, and you cannot find situations like this, where there's a venue where, with a little work, you can come here and propose something and put it on, and with all the support you need. Not perfectly, but pretty damn good. It really is, it's unique. It's so 50 years. Now, I didn't know the place existed in 1966. I lived only part-time in the area then. So I didn't really become aware, let's say, until the late 70s, early 80s. But it doesn't matter. It started 50 years ago. 50 years. I mean, that's incredible that this company has been going that long. That really indicates community support, not to mention the stalwarts who, remain, coming and going maybe, but still that's the solid foundation of how this has been here. And I look ahead and say, well, I won't be here 50 years from now, but I really hope this place will be, because it has a lot to offer. I want to keep it. I work on a number of things in my life. I mean, art is really important to me. And I'm also a mechanic. It's sometimes a strange combination, because in this world, the world of art and the world of mechanics, although they actually live together very well, in fact, in many people's minds, they kind of don't belong together, or it's a different conversation, or left and right brain, or something like that. In truth, I believe the most beautiful art, not to mention the most beautiful mechanics, occur when those are working in sync. So this building is a physical entity and requires mechanical skill to make it operate at all, and hopefully operate efficiently. Just in the theater part of it, lighting, and ability to move sets around, a place to build them, which we don't really have, but we would like to have. It would be awesome to have a shop and not have to use this auditorium for a workshop.
Accomplish. Makes sense.
So the physical part of this place is great. What it's really missing is a place to build, a place to store building materials. When you come in here and see a set, whether it's a simple one or a complicated one, or even if there's no set and you're just looking at risers and where people are seating, you need a place to build it. And if you have to build it in the auditorium, it makes it hard to keep the progress of the theater going, because you're completely the theater is completely absorbed with the building. You can't keep it separate. So here's the opportunity to expand this building if we have success in raising the money, making sure that everything is to code and we're not extending beyond our property line or some issues that we have to address. But that would be a really important step to take in making this a functioning theater, to have a place to build a set or prepare to build a set while something else was going on in this space at the same level and undercover to keep tools safe, a paint room, everything that keeps the dust and dirt out of this space so it can be a performance space while we're creating another show. That would be a really important part. The front porch, probably everybody who walks onto the front porch knows, particularly if they come in a rainstorm or in the winter, they know that it's a little awkward out there. You come up this ramp, there's ice on the ramp, there's rain falling on your head, maybe snow falling on your head. And so we are in the midst of a plan and have architectural drawings to move that ramp. Actually, not move that ramp, but build another ramp, replace that ramp, coming up the north end of the building so that you come in undercover, which would be really important and really great. With the future idea that that porch that you walk up onto, which in the summertime is a great place to hang out, could, at another stage, be enclosed and be heated to make kind of a lobby, which would be great because right now it's so awkward to take tickets. Where do we take tickets? We don't really have a ticket-taking space. So that would become a really great advantage. And then there are the theater aspects, the mechanical theater aspects of improvement that we need. For those that know something about it, we have 24 dimmers, and we do a lot with 24 dimmers, but it's really not that. Even for a space this size, it's really not enough. So we need to add dimmer capacity, we need to add circuit capacity, and we need to add instruments, including the new, more energy efficient LED, which is excellent for some types of lighting. And there are purchases to make for that to advance. Off up there, turn those two lights off. Then you're going to walk over to here, and you're going to take this board off here so you can get in. You're not going to get out. Make sure it's noise. On the back side of the wall is a switch. It says house lights, dimmer, off, manual. Okay? It's in the dimmer mode right now. Right. Put it into the manual mode. And then it's operated by that switch over there.
Oh, all right.
Okay, right now it's on the board.
All right. So it has to go to manual.
And then there are two dimmer packs there.
Yeah.
They look like stereos.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of